Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, an Apple original series.
The world is on fire. I decided to do something about it.
On November 17th.
This place, it's not ours. Believe me.
The most massive event of the year arrives.
If you come with me, you'll know everything, I promise.
Oh my God, go!
Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. Streaming November 17th, only on Apple TV+.
Welcome to Dear Prudence. I'm your Prudence, Janae Desmond-Harris. Today, we'll be discussing whether the following categories of people are totally unreasonable. 1. Moms who bring their kids to wineries. 2. Boyfriends who refuse to hard launch their girlfriends on social media. And 3. Husbands who are really suspicious of their wives' friendships with single men. This week, joining me are the co-hosts of Slate's ICYMI, Rachel Hampton and Candace Lim. ICYMI is a really fun show that keeps you up to date on everything happening on the internet. In other words, they're online, so you don't have to be. Welcome, Rachel and Candace.
Hi. Hello.
So, before we get started, I want each of you, I'll start with you, Candace, to offer one piece of totally unsolicited advice.
I guess mine is always use the private tab. I am a Chrome browser user, and what shocks me is when people, I'm not saying they're doing nefarious stuff, but let's say you've got a lot of cookies, okay? You've got a lot of, ads that are trying to get to you and trying to influence you and trying to tell you to buy the thing that you just talked about. I'm just saying, guys, why isn't everyone in private tab life anymore? Because it's actually not me hiding my history from someone else. It's me hiding my history from my future self, you see.
See, I think this is probably wrong and I'm probably a weirdo. I kind of like the personalized shopping recommendations. Like if I'm not actively shopping, I'll click on the sweater just to be like, yeah, show me more of this. This is the kind of thing I'll be buying in fall, just so you know I do like it. I don't know. I don't give a damn about my privacy and I know it's wrong. But I like seeing things that the internet knows I want. What about you, Rachel?
I think both of those positions are very fair. I have long been an advocate of Instagram ads because they know me so well, to the point that they're now serving me things that are sustainably made instead of fast fashion because they know I won't click on cider ads anymore, and it's been very helpful. I also don't care about my privacy. My piece of unsolicited advice, I would say go through the world assuming that the way anyone is interacting with you has nothing to do with you. That's how I've been operating for the past year. It's just like, that person was a bit rude. Maybe they got some bad news. Maybe their coffee wasn't as strong as they wanted it to be today. That person's being weird on TikTok. Maybe they just got broken up with. I just assume that nothing has anything to do with me unless someone tells me that it has something to do with me, at which point I start caring.
Yeah, I think that's so smart. Have you ever heard of the sort of woo-woo self-helpy book, The 4 Agreements?
I have. I actually think I have a copy of it that my mother gave to me that I haven't read, but I think I have it on this bookshelf right behind me.
Well, it has like 4 main pieces of advice. One of them is don't take anything personally. And I think about that a lot. We go through the world and interact with so many people, and you have no idea what someone has going on. And especially when you read the kind of letters that we're going to be talking about on this show. I mean, people have full, complicated, hard, and depressing lives. So whatever they're doing is much more likely to be about that than to be about you.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Thank you.
Rachel, Candace, and I will dive into your questions after a short break. Can't get enough Dear Prudence? Then you should definitely join Slate Plus, Slate's membership program. You'll get to hear me answer an extra question every week just for members. With your subscription, you get ad-free listening across the Slate network and unlimited reading on the Slate site, including all Dear Prudence columns, past and present. Go to slate.com/Prudie Plus to sign up. It's just $15 for your first 3 months. Again, that's slate.com/Prudie Plus.
Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, an Apple original series.
The world is on fire. I decided to do something about it.
On November 17th.
This place, It's not ours. Believe me.
The most massive event of the year arrives.
If you come with me, you'll know everything, I promise.
My God, go!
Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. Streaming November 17th, only on Apple TV+.
Welcome back. You're listening to Dear Prudence, and I'm here with Rachel Hampton and Candace Lim. Let's get started with our first letter. It's titled Non-Digital Girlfriend.
My boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years, and we're very serious. Recently, I've found myself getting bothered that he's never posted me on social media. I feel like it's silly because I don't think everything needs to be public, and I don't post him super often, but he does regularly feature on my stories and pepper my main grid. He'll occasionally repost a story that I post with him tagged on his story, but other than that, there's no proof that I exist in his life. To be fair, he doesn't have any pictures on his socials of any exes and barely any photos of friends. When I've told him that it bothers me that he's never hard-launched me, LOL, he said he doesn't see the point, and also it would make him feel embarrassed to have to delete anything if we do break up, although he has clarified he doesn't anticipate that happening. I've met all of his family, friends, and family friends, so I'm very much in his circle, so I know he's not hiding me. This feels very Gen Z of me. I don't think that this is a hill to die on, but how do I get over feeling self-conscious that he hasn't and doesn't seem to want to ever post me on the feed?
I actually think it feels more millennial in the years 2015 to 2019. In my mind, as someone who was around during that time, I mean, you were around too, but just a little bit younger, I remember the art of hard launching. And do you guys remember the time when you were supposed to put your relationship status on Facebook?
Oh, yes.
Yes. My favorite story is that I was in high school during those years. I'm going to say it. There was kind of an A-list power couple at our school, and everyone loved them. They were very Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds vibes. And they broke up. So obviously they got to go to Facebook. And he's like, change status to single. And someone literally commented, oh my God, what happened? And he had to respond in the comments. He was literally student body, like leadership core. And so he was like, he really did a statement. He was like, I'm so sorry to announce that me and X have had some mutual disagreements and have had to part ways, but I have respect for them and wish them future success. And this was during college acceptance season, so it was high emotions, you know what I mean? But it was just so funny. I don't miss that time, but maybe what this writer letter is saying is that we're not exactly past that time.
I guess not. I mean, what do you two think? Do you feel that in your friend circles, there's an expectation that relationships are announced on Instagram or TikTok?
Not for my cohort of people. I do think that if you have a TikTok that you post regularly on, then it probably would be a part of the social media hard launch. But most of my friends are just lurkers on TikTok, much like me. I do think there's an expectation that your long-term partner appears on your social media feed at least once. If not on the grid, then on the stories. I just feel like if you are documenting every part of your life, then how does your partner not factor into that?
Right.
Okay, but let me defend this poor man. He is not documenting every part of his life. He doesn't really put his friends and family up there. He's doing, I assume, pets, sunsets, pictures of his food.
That's so fair. But who is in the background of those photos of the pets and the sunsets? If not your partner. I agree. It's fair to not be someone who posts a lot on social media. It might not be his thing. I do think it would be embarrassing if we broke up thing is kind of a dumb excuse. But I think I come down on the side of if it means a lot to your partner, even if it feels silly to you, there are plenty of silly things that I capitulate to for my friends because I love them and it means a lot to them. And there are things that they do for me that they wouldn't do otherwise. So even if it does feel silly to him to post, it clearly is weighing on the letter writer. And I think given that, the least you can do is post a little photo. It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
You know, I hadn't thought about that angle. Okay, but let me push back on it a little. Okay, so we're already in a situation where he brings her around friends and family. He's public with her. He never posted his other exes. He doesn't post his friends and family. she still feels this sense of not being claimed or valued. Do you really think it's going to be enough if he does one picture?
I think it is.
You do?
I think it is. See, so here, I think this is what Rachel's getting at, which is that this person who wrote this letter is clearly asking something that I think is so valid, because I too would feel self-conscious, especially if I'm dating someone for 3 years. It's this question of like, look, I don't need you to propose to me. I don't need you to move in, but I need some affirmation that we are going somewhere. And I think that with just one photo, with a little tag, with a little happy birthday, love you, that could erase all of this anxiety. I do think it could really be the solution. And here's the thing. I read this letter and the first question I asked was like, okay, is your boyfriend hiding your relationship or protecting your relationship? And that's an interesting divide there, because she says very clearly, like, I don't think he's hiding.
He's not. I mean, she's like his +1 to his brother's wedding. Probably,
exactly.
Right?
But see, that is a great example. When you are a +1 to someone's wedding, you take a photo couple. Where does it go? In the photo dump. The photo dump says, oh, besties, or something like +1 with the love of my life, something like that. And I think she's valid. I really think she's valid. I do.
I agree.
So you're not even asking for like the portrait mode picture across the table where she's gazing.
And you know what?
At him.
I want it to be an arm. I want it to be one arm on top of the spaghetti, just tagged.
Yes.
Okay.
I think importantly, something that I think we're both getting at is that a lot of people frame not posting as not making a choice, basically. It seems like a neutral option, but it's not. You are, over the course of 3 years, if you are posting at all on your feed, you are making a choice not to post your partner. And it is okay for your partner to question why you are making that choice. It's not a neutral decision to not post them. It is, in fact, a concentrated decision you're making over the course of 3 years.
Yes. And actually, me and Rachel have had great offline conversations about this, which is that
it sounds like it, because you guys came prepared. And I'm like, I feel like my argument's falling apart.
Me and Rachel are very suspicious of people, let's say men, who do not mention their partner within the first 5, 10, 30 minutes of meeting you. If they don't drop the like, oh yeah, like me and my girlfriend, we like went to the bodega. Like if they don't use that term and they make it really seem like they're coasting through this solo life, we get a little red flaggy when we go, to the Instagram and we see, oh, hold on, you guys just celebrated your 10th anniversary? What?
Okay, well, answer this then. Do you think there's anything to the idea that being a guy who posts his girlfriend all the time, like imagine he's the guy who's like, get over there, I want to get your picture. Okay, wait, let me get another one. Okay, can someone get one of both of us? All right, let's wear matching outfits and do it. Don't you think that goes hand in hand with being the kind of guy who also follows a bunch of Instagram models?
No.
And DMs them. Like, I think there's a certain sweetness to offlineness, and it, to me, goes hand in hand with, it's wholesome.
Okay, so this is, I will say, Janae, you are illuminating something very subjective, which is that there are a lot of women who I think are online between the ages of, like, let's say 26 to 39, who love the idea of a man with no social media. I understand that appeal. Maybe that's what we're getting at. Maybe he is someone who loves the offline, doting, loving, I'm not on social media, but she needs someone to validate her in that way. Disconnect.
I understand what you're saying. I do think there's very much a girlfriend boy, which is a lot to deal with.
Is this like a wife guy?
Yes.
The junior version of a wife
exactly.
guy? Okay.
Yes. And it can be too much. It can also be incredibly sweet. It just depends on the kind of person who is doing it and what the point of doing it is.
Right.
I think what I keep coming back to is there's a lot that can be read into someone's posting policy. Maybe this actually doesn't mean that much to him, but it clearly means something to his partner. And I think just the fact of that should be enough for him to do something that he is saying isn't a big deal. If it's not a big deal, then post the photo.
Why can I hear you having this argument with a man? I just think it's funny how you've never posted a
I do
photo.
think it's funny how I would never date someone who didn't post me, to be clear. I post my friends all the time. It's just a part of the kind of lexicon. Either you're completely offline or you're posting me. But if you have this weird in-between, then it's just like you're making a choice and I want to know why you're making that choice. And you can't say that you're not making a choice because you very much are.
Okay, so the letter writer has asked how to get over feeling this way, but are you suggesting that the right advice is to confront him and be like, why are you making your choice?
I think
Explain
so.
yourself.
Not in that, tone of voice, but just say, hey, this might seem silly to you. Just like it's silly to me that you can't let the dishes be in the sink for longer than 2 hours. But we are both compromising on something because we love each other and this means a lot to the other person. You don't have to become a girlfriend boy. You don't have to post me all the time. But after 3 years, I do think I'm allowed a little bit of silliness. I'm allowed to have what seems like a dumb bit of insecurity. I don't think it's a dumb bit of insecurity, but I just feel like, I don't know, the point of being in relationships with people, both like in friendship and romantic and platonic, is that you're allowed to be a little bit irrational and have like things that bother you, and your friends and your lovers will capitulate to them because they love you and they're going to do the same thing in 3 days.
Okay, I think you guys have convinced me. But I will just add, you can ask him, just being vulnerable and being honest about what you'd like to see, and clarify that it can be part of a dump, it can be an arm. But I would also tell the letter writer just to pay attention to what feeling you're looking for that's lacking here. Are you looking for the feeling that this relationship is going somewhere, that he's in it for the long haul? Are you looking for feeling that he's proud of you, that he's excited about you? And just keep track of whether the post, when and if it does happen, satisfies that, or whether that's still a nagging feeling that's coming up in other ways,
I like that.
Same.
You're listening to the Dear Prudence Show. When we come back, we'll be reading more of your letters. Stay with us.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
ABC's The Bachelor franchise has come a long way since it started over 20 years ago.
I'm scared that the girls, when they find out, will hate me forever.
Do you want to be back with her?
I want to see if there's that possibility.
Are you kidding me?
You don't think that I'm intelligent enough to see through you? You're friggin' hilarious.
He just jumped the fence.
Do you think you're genuinely ready to marry a 36-year-old man?
But after all the tears, fights, and hookups, The Bachelor is slowing things down and going old school.
He posts his thirst traps in a leather-bound album. His DMs have postage. He gets the early bird special anytime he wants.
That's right, a 72-year-old, quote, patriarch from Indiana, Gary Turner, is our newest bachelor. And 22 women, all of them aged 60 or over, are hoping this widowed father of two is their next great love. This journey, to use a word that Bachelor Nation loves so much, is going to be recapped every week by myself, Slate senior producer Shayna Roth, and Laura Stassi, host of the Dating While Gray podcast. Join us while we dish on the dates, the antics, the romance, and find out if Gary finds love and a partner in pickleball.
I love to play pickleball.
I like to play pickleball.
Pickleball.
I love pickleball. I brought my pickleball with me. I hope Gary's ready for it.
Check out our Golden Bachelor recap series in the Waves feed every Friday morning. It's available wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Dear Prudence. I'm here with my guests Rachel Hampton and Candace Lim. The next letter is titled, No Kidding.
I have a close circle of friends since childhood, but only a few that have gone on to marry and have kids. One is my best friend, Meg. The problem is that Meg either cancels at last minute on plans or she tries to bring her kids along to events that are not child appropriate. For example, we had plans to go to a bed and breakfast and then a wine tour of a local vineyard. Meg tried to bring her 2 kids and then got mad when we told her that that was not going to happen. She canceled and we had to split her part of the bills. Our other friends with kids are able to plan ahead and gives the courtesy of letting us know if they are able to come or not. Meg gets very defensive about this and says, I don't know how hard being a mother is. She also complains about not being included in invitations out. I love Meg and I love her kids, but I don't get her martyrdom here. If she can't come, just say that, or leave the kids with her mother or their father. How do I talk to her about this?
I wonder if we're going to have another battle of the generations here.
I think I'm going to surprise you, though, so I want to hear you guys first.
Okay, so I would say I'm seeing Meg in this story as someone who really, really wants to keep the friendship up and is moving heaven and earth to do it. And I'm comparing it in my head to the many letters I receive from people who are complaining that their friends had kids and disappeared and just weren't interested in doing anything with them anymore. I get that it's probably not ideal to bring the kids to a vineyard, but she's doing that because she really, really wants to see you. And I'm guessing she's not seeing you when you like come to her house after bedtime for a glass of wine. What do you think, Candace?
I am shockingly on the side of Meg. I feel a lot of empathy for her because, you know, I am not a mother, but I think I've just definitely experienced in my family. My parents were very, very adamant that they would not allow people outside of the family to take care of us. So my mom was just kind of like, I don't trust the neighbors. I don't trust anyone else. There's something there about like, I cannot let that childcare go to someone else. And I'm like, okay, that's a very valid insecurity. I understand. And I also sense the same thing, Janae, that you are, which is that like, here is this person, Meg, who is just kind of like, I want to still feel like a person and I want to go to this vineyard. But if the stipulation, if the trade-off is that I have to take my kids, I'm going to do it because mama kind of needs it. Because that's where I'm kind of at, where it's like, I'm seeing someone who really needs to let off some steam, but unfortunately, they have to operate in a society where there is no daycare at the vineyard, which, by the way, vineyard people, get on top of that. Now, going back to the letter writer, this is tough. I actually think what I would do is go to Meg to somewhere she can bring her kids, she's comfortable, aka her house, and just ask her what's going on, like in her life in general, because I wonder if the issue actually stems from the fact that she is having childcare issues and she kind of feels like she is kind of the one who has to take care of them all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the letter writer makes it seem really easy. Like, give them to your mother, give them to your husband.
It's that use of the word just that always kind of also ticks me off, because whenever someone uses the word just, it means that they don't understand the actual complexities of the situation and they're trying to mask that. And that's the other thing too. This person, you know, confesses that they don't have kids. There are so few people in the friend group who have kids, and it's tough. I actually want letter writer. I want you to be there for Meg. Okay?
I mean, in an ideal world, yes, her husband would just take the kids all weekend, but we don't know if that man is suffering from depression, if he plays golf all weekend, if he works all the time, if he's an absolute jerk, if they're on the verge of divorce and not talking. I mean, anything could be going on.
There you go.
Actually, I agree with both of you. This is, I don't think, going to be the generational divide here. I mean, I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the guy who wouldn't post his girlfriend, which is that sometimes people we love are going to do irrational things, or sometimes are going to demand things of us that seem irrational, and we're not going to understand why, but we kind of need to give in a little bit because we're actually the one with the freedom to give in. And this is a case of that, where the fact that Meg is canceling at the last minute or trying to bring her kids leads me to believe that she wants to be there, like, more than anything, and things keep getting in the way. And I really think that is what the letter writer should be focusing on, is how much Meg wants to be there, but just can't. And I'm assuming that's why she's getting really defensive, is she is thinking to herself, is I am trying so hard to do this, and not only are my efforts not enough for me to get there, because I keep having to cancel, but my efforts are earning me ire from the person that I'm trying to spend time with. And so I also just want to kind of know how old her children are. I think that's kind of an important part of this discussion, because the first 5 years of a kid's life as their friend, you kind of just have to sit back and be like, every single decision that they're making is not going to make sense to me as a person who doesn't have children, because children at that age are just require so much. And so if they're under the age of 5, then it makes sense that if she's trying to parent 2 kids under the age of 5, but she doesn't want to lose her friends, and she's making decisions that don't make sense to you, like trying to bring her kids to a vineyard. Maybe just have events that don't include alcohol is one of the things that I feel like a lot of people who have friends who are parents just refuse to do. And it really goes to show like how strong alcohol culture is in America or wherever this person is writing from. I guarantee that the person you want to see who has kids can probably come to an event if there's no alcohol. Like, the issue here is that it's at a vineyard and y'all are all going to get drunk, which is your right. But you're going to exclude people who can't do that. Or you're going to be annoyed that they try to bring kids to a vineyard, which maybe kids shouldn't see mommy lit on a few glasses of wine. That's fine.
I don't know if my friend Gina is listening to this podcast, but I have many memories of her parents bringing us to Napa to go wine tasting. We would just like run around outside. It was actually fine. We were probably between like 7 and 11. So there are ways to make it work. I would say in this case, if kids are allowed and she's not asking you to take care of them, let her bring them. She's the one who's going to be chasing after them, changing diapers. Definitely if it's a party at a private home where the kids are going to be messing things up, if it's a wedding, fine. But if it's a public place, it's her choice. If she wants to show up with her kids and be halfway present and not have the best time, let her. If you get to have 1 5-minute conversation with her while she's not, helping someone color a picture at the table, then that's a 5-minute conversation that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And I don't know. This is sort of my rant about the shift that happens as you get sort of to the end of your 20s in friendships. I don't think it's a good idea to make the standard for hanging out with your friends everyone's together, drunk and single with no responsibilities. You've got to start realizing that life happens and things change. And friendship, yes, it's still happy hour, it's still nights out, but it might be like sitting with your friend in their bed when their parent dies. It might be going to their house and doing some laundry when they have a kid. It might be showing up at their work event when they have a big professional thing. It might be helping them with their presentation. Like, friendship is more than drinking without a care in the world, right? And you're just going to be very limited if you make that the standard for spending time with your friends and think anything else is somehow like less than or a compromise. Yes. Because you're growing up. Things change. It's going to look different.
Yes. I mean, that reminds me of that recent Cut article on why can't our friendship survive your children?
Oh, yeah.
And what I came away from is that the author is just extremely lucky that her friends haven't gone through things that didn't allow them to be present for her in the way that she wants. Even outside of aging and gaining more responsibilities, if you have a friend who has a disability, if you have a friend who's caring for their parents, if you have a friend who has like a really demanding job, there are so many things that can happen in your life where they're not going to be able to make happy hour. And that shouldn't be the limit of your friendship. You should be able to exist outside of that frame of reference. And if you can't, then it's not really a friendship. It's a proximal relationship you have.
Right. It's a going out buddy.
Yeah. And you can't expect them to be there for you all the time if you just have a going out buddy. That's not the same thing as a friend.
Right. And some going out buddies will fall off as people stop being available to just be going out buddies. And that's okay. So I guess in terms of concrete advice for the letter writer, don't ban her from things. Like I said, let her come if kids are welcome at the venue. And I think it is okay to tell her you'd love to spend time with her kid-free and ask her how that might look for her, right? So maybe it means coming over after the kids are in bed. Maybe it means that for her birthday gift, she'd like everyone to chip in for some kind of childcare coupon. Maybe it means you just go to her house and hang out while the kids are there and have conversation wherever you can fit it in. But don't exclude this woman. I mean, I would hate to get a letter from her. I can only imagine what she's going through. And again, don't forget, when her kids are a little bit older and you may or may not have your first little kid, and she's like, she has all the time in the world, you're going to want the same kind of accommodations. Yeah. Like, friendships just ebb and flow. You got to kind of go with it. This is Dear Prudence. We need to take a break, but when we come back, more letters from you and advice from us. Stay tuned.
We all need advice sometimes.
Right? Someone to say, I get it. I've been there too.
But often it's hard to know where to turn, which is where we come in. Hi, I'm Carvel Wallace.
And I'm Courtney Martin. We're both authors and journalists who love finding solutions to problems.
Every week on Slate's How To podcast, a listener comes on our show to receive advice from a world-class expert.
We've covered everything from parents with radically different politics to people learning to love their insecurities.
We've helped listeners breathe better, sleep better, and even have better sex.
Speaking of sex, we're all getting screwed by a warming planet. So we've also learned how to cope with climate change and how to say goodbye to our pets.
Life is messy and complicated, but we're all in this together, so let's help each other.
Look for How To from Slate wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Janae, and you're listening to Dear Prudence. Rachel, Candace, and I are about to tackle our last question for the day. You guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, this letter is titled Defensive or Independent.
My husband and I have been married for 28 years. In our early years, we would hang out with another young couple, Mike and Ann. They moved away and I lost contact. It's I, because my husband doesn't maintain or seek friendships. 10 years ago, I found Mike, but not Ann, on social media, and we caught up. He had remarried, became an educator like me, and had a child. We renewed our friendship, and I appreciate our bond. It is not sexual and never has been. Recently, my husband saw, by looking over my shoulder when I didn't know he was standing there, that I had received a message from Mike. Mike was going through a divorce, and I was being a friend and listening. My husband told me it was inappropriate for a married woman to maintain a friendship with a man, especially if he's single. He was very angry, and the next day asked me to exchange phones so he could go through mine. I refused. I don't think it's appropriate for him to make this request, and I wouldn't make it. I have private conversations with my kids, my friends, private thoughts that I write in a notebook app. I photograph myself nude so I can see the progression as I age, etc. I deserve privacy. My husband says he doesn't trust me. I have never done anything to earn this, which he has admitted to. He just doesn't trust me, period. In the past, I have lost friends due to his behavior. I'm not letting this one go. Am I in the wrong for refusing to exchange phones and for having a male friend?
Can we just pause really quickly on I photographed myself nude so I can see the progression as I age? That's really brave.
I was like, I love this woman. I love her.
Yeah.
She's living life the way she should. Because that is very
She's like,
brave.
interesting changes.
Yes.
Save.
No, exactly.
Anyway, what do you think under normal circumstances? What do you think about a married woman or man being in a friendship with someone of the same gender, the gender they're attracted to outside their marriage? Like, what are the overall rules, if there are any?
So you're asking an extremely single gal this question. I'm coming to this question as a single woman. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I thought we had kind of moved past the When Harry Met Sally of it all, of men and women can't be friends. Great movie. Phenomenal sweaters.
Really good movie.
All to say, I don't think it's that big of a deal if you are an adult with good boundaries and the other person is an adult with good boundaries. I don't really know what else to say beyond that. I don't like, it just feels extremely simple to me in that not being able to be friends with people of the opposite sex reduces them down to their sex or gender in a way that I find very weird and essentialist. They're not a person outside of the fact that they are a sex or a gender that you're attracted to. And it's kind of deeply misogynistic. It really suggests that the only value a man finds in a woman is that he's attracted to her. And that the only value a woman finds in a man is that he's attracted to her. That they can't see each other as people worthy of having a relationship with. And that's weird to me.
Okay, but Rachel. Okay, in a previous letter, we talked about a woman who wanted to be posted on her boyfriend's Instagram. And she was like, reasonable or unreasonable, that's my feeling. And you were saying he should honor that, right?
Yes.
So what if your partner is like, I'm not comfortable with the friendship? Should you just honor that because that's their feeling? Or
I think that's different.
I mean, this is why I think it gets complicated.
Oh, it definitely does get complicated. I think there's a big difference between a belief that is irrational and harmless and a belief that is irrational and harmful. I think that posting someone on your Instagram is a harmless desire at the end of the day, unless you're very jealous or controlling, and it doesn't seem like that's what's happening here. I think that not wanting someone to be friends with another person when nothing has happened is extremely harmful. I understand if they had like a flirtationship or there was an admitted attraction saying, I'm not comfortable with you being friends with that person. That's a different situation. Here, it feels like no boundaries have been crossed and it's literally just this person's maleness that is bothering her husband. And that's weird to me.
Side note, when you were growing up, did people ever tell you should go to law school? Because you're really good at arguing a point. Like, you give, like, the law and then, like, the policy reasoning behind it.
Yep.
Apply it to the facts.
My parents have called me a politician before because they're like, you never give a straight answer. And I'm just like, it's not a straight answer. I think everything has context.
You're unpacking it. Yeah. So I asked the question in part because I saw a good tweet about this. And I was like, I think this is the answer. This was referring to relationships with exes, but let's just say relationships outside of your primary relationship with someone who you could be attracted to. The person who tweeted it tweets under the handle Yum Coconut Milk. I think her name is Nyla. Do you guys follow her?
I do.
Anyway, she's great. She said, quiet as it's kept, the appropriateness of a relationship when you're in a monogamous relationship yourself completely depends on both parties not wanting each other at all, which is rare. So I think that's actually the rule, right? It's okay as long as you legitimately don't want the other person. But the tricky thing is only you know that.
Oh.
Your partner doesn't know that.
Okay.
So the real rule is you got to date or marry someone who you trust to be honest about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the situation at hand with this jerk. Back to the situation at hand with this jerk who has ruined his wife's friendships and is like over her shoulder looking at her phone and making rules for her.
Can we just pause and say, I have been stuck on the parenthetical, it's I because my husband doesn't maintain or seek friendships since we started talking about this?
Yes. And the fact that he's done this before, she says that he has ruined relationships before. So that's a pattern.
Oh, wow. I missed that parenthetical. I missed a lot in this letter, obviously. So he wants them to be each other's only people.
Yes.
He wants to isolate her. He doesn't want any other friends and he doesn't want her to have any either.
Okay. So let's pull on that thread because I think what is happening here is the husband of letter writer is clearly projecting a lot of future fears, worries, anxieties that he himself has in a potential future where they are no longer together, whether that's a widow situation, divorce, whatever. So for example, male friend, let's just call him male friend. So the male friend went through a divorce. And I feel like we've heard a lot of people say that when you go through a divorce, that is the loneliest time you feel because, for example, your friend group that was once together is now split. You don't know who your allies are. Your best friend that you were married to, you cannot talk to them anymore. And I think Mike going to letter writer makes sense. I've had my best friends' boyfriends who I don't even know that well come to me because like they just don't know where else to go from like an emotional standpoint. And to me, that stuff is kind of innocent as long as it ends with like, hey man, I really think you should talk to someone. Here's a number. Yeah. You go find that copay. Then the other thing is the husband is pretty clearly worried about the worst case scenario, which is cheating.
Yeah.
And my genuine mantra for work conversations between people of different genders, whatever, is would you send that message if you knew that your spouse was reading it? If so, do your thing. Go hit the LOL. But if there is a conversation that is happening that you know that if a third eye was looking at it and you're a little bit like, ooh, I don't know about this, then that's when I think like, okay, we got to like talk about boundaries a little bit. However, the question here is not like if letter writer is crossing boundaries. The question is like, what do we do about said husband who literally keeps ruining the messages?
Like, she probably couldn't even message a coworker and say, want to grab coffee.
Yeah.
Because her husband would be like, what are you doing? So, I mean, it all goes back to being married to the wrong person, you know? Like that none of the reasonable rules apply if you're married to someone who isn't interested in being reasonable.
And I mean, it really is alarming to me that he would say after 28 years that he just doesn't trust her, even though she's done nothing to earn his distrust.
Damn, that's another detail I missed. 28 years.
28 years. I'm just like, you have quite honestly been married longer than I've been alive, and you can't trust your wife? Why are you still married? I'm not saying get divorced, because that feels like a lot to do after 28 years. There are a lot of things that go into that, but the foundation is fundamentally rotten, and I don't know how to answer the question when we're on such shaky ground.
You know, I will say I'm really impressed by the letter writer for having such a strong sense of self and not being more beaten down by being in a relationship with someone like this for so long. Like, I would think after 28 years with someone who has no friends and doesn't trust you, you would be like experiencing self-doubt, questioning yourself. You would have been effectively gaslighted by now. Yeah. And she's just kind of like, no, he's crazy. He's unreasonable. I deserve privacy.
I mean, the confidence of watching your body as it progresses, that speaks to me of like a deep sense of self-worth that exists outside the control of this man who I think would have browbeaten a lot of people into the ground after almost 30 years. Like, I really am truly impressed with this woman, and I want her to leave, but she seems to have worked her life out in such a way that she doesn't need to, and to still remain herself, which, like, just hats off to you, ma'am.
Yeah. Well, the good thing for us is that she has not asked, what should I do? She has only asked, am I in the wrong for refusing to exchange phones and for having a male friend? Absolutely not. You are not in the wrong.
I agree. Also because, you know, she mentions that Mike is an educator like her. # industry friends. We all need work friends. Some people have work husbands that they're not married to, even though they are married to other people. And so here's the thing. If your husband was Crown Jewel Best Husband of the Year award, what he would really be saying at this stage in your relationship is maybe, hey, like, if I, you know, go in such tragic ways, I give you my blessing to pursue something with Mike. I think you guys would be like really great together.
Yeah, that would be lovely. And her husband will never do that.
Oh,
but
no.
At least
not
she
this
can
one.
know that she's right. Not this one. Maybe the next one. I'm not saying to break up. Again, I'm not allowed to tell everyone to break up. But if it happens, you can be with someone like Mike. Okay, those are all the questions we have for this week. It's been fun and hopefully helpful. Rachel and Candace, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I love coming on the show. And guys, you just got 3 pieces of advice for the price of 1.
Which is free. Because this podcast is free.
For more of Rachel and Candace, listen to ICYMI. New episodes come out every Wednesday and Saturday. Do you need help getting along with partners, relatives, coworkers, and people in general? Write to me. Go to slate.com/Prudie. That's slate.com/PRUDIE. The Dear Prudence column publishes every Thursday.
If you'd like to hear your question answered on the podcast, we are looking for letter writers who would be comfortable recording their questions for the show.
You can stay anonymous.
Dear Prudence is produced by Sierra Spragley Ricks with a special thanks to Maura Currie. Editorial help from Paola De Verona. Daisy Rosario is senior supervising producer, and Alicia Montgomery is Slate's VP of audio. I'm your Dear Prudence, Janae Desmond Harris. Until next time.